The title of our meeting today is Why Your Listing Presentation Isn't Converting. So, the listing presentation, guys and gals, that you guys, many of you, have been doing for years, the one that you rehearsed and that you learned you learned everything about, you learned all the scripts, you learned the hand motions at one time, everything that you learned is probably the reason that you are not converting listings today. And you're losing listings to agents that are less experienced than you. So why? What nobody's saying is the problem isn't in your presentation, it's the person that you're delivering it to. Specifically, who you think you are when you walk through the door. So in the past, well, let me back up. We're gonna talk today about what top agents are doing, and I'm gonna warn you, most of it happens before you ever open your mouth. So buckle up. This is going to be a fairly tough call for some of you to hear because what I'm trying to do is unwind some of the things that you have thought about the industry and you've thought about the listing presentation. And I want to rewire you into thinking about this from a different perspective. So here's the shift. The reality is, sellers do not come to the presentation uninformed like they did previously. They've been on Zillow, they've been on Redfin. I mean, they can go on numerous sites and get AVMs, which are, if you guys are, those are auto valuation models. They already know what the house is worth. They've been in their Facebook group. They've watched YouTube videos on how to interview an agent. And there's a really good chance that, their brother-in-law sold a house in 2021 and he's got a lot of opinions. So when you get there, they already have a perception. They already know what the houses in their area are selling for. The listing presentation, the one that most of us, myself included, were trained for, was designed in a different world. It was designed in a world where the data wasn't available to them. It was in a world where we were keepers of the data. And our position when we went in was to really tell them, what was happening. In the old world, in the old presentation, the CMA was the most important thing in the room. But that's gone. That's no longer the case. And the agents who haven't adjusted to that are still showing up and doing listing presentations from 1990, 1995, or even 2005. So everybody write this down. You are no longer the keeper of the data. You are the interpreter of the data. This one shift will change everything in your presentation. And I do realize this is hard for many of you to come to terms with. We are not keepers of the data. We are there to help them interpret the data. The shift in itself is not technique. It really is a belief system. You have to believe that your value isn't in the data before you walk in the door. If you think that you're going to impress them with the CMA or with your collateral material or with your knowledge of the market, they're going to feel that. And today's sellers are remarkably good at sensing when an agent is performing versus when an agent is present and in the moment. So let's dig a little bit deeper into the old model. So the old model was built on control. It was built on your control. You controlled the appointment. You can you controlled the objection, the control of the close. Many of you were taught to keep the seller off balance. just enough so that you felt and they felt that you were guiding them through this transaction. And some trainers were even teaching at one point that there were different words that you could say that could get people to respond in a specific way. Or if you say it like this, they're going to respond like that. See, that shelf life, that model, that had a shelf life and it's expired. When a seller feels handled, when they feel like you are manipulating them, they disengage. They may not tell you, they may smile and nod and walk you to the door, and then they're going to call someone else. So, in my experience, I have never seen a seller sign because they were impressed by the CMA or the binder or the collateral material. They sign because they believe that the agent understands the situation and can get them where they want to go. Do you guys see the shift? That is the way that we used to do it. We would walk in and literally, and I used to teach this myself, I would walk in and teach people how to control this environment. And while it's important that you are uh, in control and confident, the sellers are rejecting that because they feel like the agents are disingenuous. So I want to ask you guys something that's uncomfortable. If you leave the presentation, that appointment, thinking, uh, "Oh, I gave a great presentation, but you didn't get the listing." Your presentation isn't the problem. You were the problem. It's your connection with the client that was the problem. An agent that walks in the door, and again, man, I used to teach this, and and it worked, 20 years ago. If you walk in the door thinking, I need to win this listing, you're already in the wrong headspace. Your approach is already wrong. But the agent who walks in thinking, I need to understand the seller situation, uh, I need to I need to understand what they're trying to accomplish. See, the other way is making it about you. The new way makes it about them, and the sellers can think and they feel that difference immediately. So this is not about telling everything that you think you know or everything that you do know or how great you think you are or how great you are. It's about making the sellers feel like you're making a connection and that you are there to really help them through this very, very stressful process. Now, part of the challenge that I see today is, and this is dangerous, is when you you come into the listing presentation to that appointment in desperation. And where that desperation comes from, of course, is it may be your only listing presentation that you have. So you can't approach this with desperation. The most powerful thing that you can bring is your certainty, your confidence, not arrogance. Certainty. See, arrogance, that's about proving yourself. Certainty is about knowing your value without needing to announce it. It's about walking in the room with the right intent.
Hour. I don't know what the
And
fuck.
that intent is that you're there to help those people navigate, and I'll say it again, this very stressful situation. Now, not every seller is the same. So we have to learn to read the room. Uh, there's something that the old presentations that have been taught and really they kind of touched on this a little bit, but not enough. Not every seller needs the same presentation. They need the same outcome. They still want to sell their house. They want it to be as quickly as possible. They want the highest net dollar. They want it to be as stress less as possible. But it's how you get there and how you are making them feel along the way. That's what's important. So it really depends on who's sitting across the table. See, top agents, they don't deliver a presentation, they deliver the right presentation to the right person. And that starts with understanding the four personality styles. And so we're going to go through those kind of, quickly because some of you have heard this before, some of you need a refresher. But I want you to think about this scenario for just a second. And this has happened to all of us that we've gone out on an appointment and we've thought to ourselves, man, you're on. You made a great presentation. You walked in, you did your thing. You felt like you're hitting all the right marks. Uh, you arrived at the right price with the seller. They wanted to sell, but then you left without the listing. Who's had that happen other than me? But this is where the arrogance comes in. You walk out and you tell yourself, "Man, I was great. I was fantastic. They loved me." That's the arrogance. And you convince yourself that you're going to get that. They're going to list with you. And then you look 2 or 3 days later in MLS and they've listed with another agent. So why did that happen? It's happening every day. You're losing listings to agents that are not as skilled as you and not as experienced as you. So why does that happen? Well, it happens because the client didn't think or feel that you were the right agent that they wanted to do business with. So it's not about how you feel, it's about how the client feels. So you have to read the room. You need to identify who these people are before you get there, and then change your presentation to meet the needs of each client. Now, we're going to go through the four styles. There's four basic styles, and there's great books on this that I can recommend to you. One is called Versatile Selling by Wilson Learning Systems. If you really want to get into this uh, and really understand why people do the things that they do, and maybe why you are getting the responses that you are, it really comes down to understanding what makes people tick. So there's four styles. We'll start with the driver. So the driver personality, what drives them are the results, control. Uh, they want confirmation of what they already know. They don't want to be sold. Uh, they don't want to waste time. They don't like being talked down to, and they want to be in control of the process. So you have to get to the point fast. You skip the small talk. You talk about options and results, not directives. Now, fatal mistake. And this is a big one. If you show up at an appointment with a 42 page slide deck, kind of like this one, guys, and you and you pull it up with the driver, their eyes will glaze over and you will lose them so quickly because it moves too slowly for them. See, with a driver, your confidence has to be immediate. They're reading you within the first 90 seconds or so. And if you're hesitant, you're over prepared, or you're trying too hard, you've lost them. Now, I'm a driver myself, and I will tell you, if you go on an appointment with a driver and you don't get the listing, you did something wrong because they are buyers, they're not shoppers. They move fast. So learn how to talk to them. And you have to match their personality style and not stay in yours. Now, the next is the expressive. Now, these are the fun people. They want recognition. They like lots of attention. They want to feel like they are special, that their home is special. They don't want this to be transactional. They don't want to be ignored or undervalued. Uh, they want to be the center of attention, and they want to feel that from you, that you see them as someone special. So to adapt to them, you've got to match their energy, and you've got to talk about vision, not facts, and let them talk a little bit. They need to feel heard, or they're not going to trust you. If people, a lot of people get frustrated with expresses, but if guys and gals, if you shut them down and you don't allow them the space to express themselves, again, they're going to disconnect from you. So mistake with the expressives is being too data heavy, uh, no energy. They will be polite, but they are not going to want to do business with you because for them, it's all about how they feel. And if they don't feel good about you, they're not going to do business with you. Uh, they, again, very similar to the drivers, they are going to sum things up in about 10 minutes and they're going to make a decision about you. And if they think that you're fun, you're high energy, and they're going to enjoy this transaction, they'll do business with you. But if you are stiff and too formal, uh, and talk down to them, they're going to do business with someone else. They are not interested in being with unfun, unenergetic people. Now, the next is the amiable. Amiables are the nurturers of the world. So they like the harmony. They want to feel safe. They are slow decision makers, but they're very emotional people. They don't like conflict. They don't like pressure. They don't like change. And they don't want other people to be unhappy. So you need to keep in mind that they are afraid to make decisions because they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want their family and friends to be upset. They want everything to be the same. So when you're working with an amiable, you have to slow down. You got to make them feel good. Make them feel like you are as nurturing as they are. That you're not there just to make a paycheck, to make a commission check. You're there because you genuinely want to help them. They are not they're not thinkers, they're feelers. So keep that in mind. Now, when dealing with the amiable, avoid pressure, but also be aware that they are huge procrastinators. So you have to be gentle and move them through this process. Uh, Here's another fun fact about the amiables. The amiables don't like conflict or confrontation, so they may tell you and then you'll get a cancellation in the morning. And they won't even call you, they'll text you because they don't like confrontation. So they don't want to upset anyone and they don't want to be confronted and they don't want to confront you. So they will say, yes, let's move forward, but they'll text you and change their mind. Uh, Important note, amiables need to trust you in order to hire you. They need to feel warm about you. They need to feel safe with you. And so if you are talking fast and you're trying to move through this too quickly, you're going to lose them and they will do business with someone else. And then last, we have the analyticals. Now, the analyticals are all about the numbers, the proof, the spreadsheets, uh, the process. They want it in black and white. As a matter of fact, they everything to them is black and white. What they fear is making an emotional decision that they can't justify with the numbers. And really, they don't like to be wrong. They will do everything in their power not to be wrong. And for that reason, it's difficult for them to make quick decisions. So we call it analysis paralysis. They have to absorb a lot of information before they make a decision because they can't be wrong. So when you're dealing with an analytical, bring your data, walk them through the process, give them time, but don't make them wrong. So ask questions about the data, ask questions about how they came to that conclusion. But if you tell them, no, that's not the price, you will lose them. So they don't want to be sold. They don't like idle chit chat. They don't like emotional language. And they don't like to make a decision the same day a lot of times. So that's a really tricky one because you want to get the listing. So you've got to figure out how to make them comfortable so they will make a decision that day. Uh, your job with the analytical is to be the most prepared person in the room. And then you let the preparation speak for itself. You need to be accurate and patient. Uh, Many of you know I also have a team and I sell real estate and I'm doing business, uh, a, a very big transaction with a high analytical. And every conversation that I have with him, guys and gals, every one is an hour. And and most people could not work with this man. He's lovely and his wife is fantastic, but he is so detailed that most agents would not want to fool with him. Now, it's an extremely large transaction. So I'm willing to put the work into it because it makes sense. It's also my job. So just be prepared when you're dealing with the analytical that they need your time and they need you to be detailed and accurate. So don't go in and try to wing it or you will lose the analytical every single time. All right. So now let's pull all this together and let's talk about the actual method that I recommend that you use when you go on a listing presentation. Now, you're going to, other trainers would say, go in, ask, these questions, say this, say that, etc. But what I'm going to present to you today is called the ICE method. And it is about walking through this process so that everyone thinks and feels heard so that we can get to the right result. And hopefully, the right result is that you take the listing. But sometimes the right result might be that they don't list at all. Those really should just be the two options. Either they're listing with you or they've made the decision not to list at all. So let's go through the ICE method. So ICE stands for interpret, connect, and execute. Please write that down. Interpret, connect, and execute. 3 steps in that order every time. So let's expand on this. All right, so interpret. Our job as agents is to help them make sense of the data that they already know, not to overwhelm them with what you know and not to tell them.
Just give me a call back.
So let me give you an example.
Potato 1233. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Okay, we've got somebody that is, sounds like Breaker 19. Do we have someone that's a trucker maybe that is on their CB radio? That's what it sounded like. Either that or they got stopped by a police officer, one of the two. So uh, seller's got all this information, right? And and how many times have you ever heard a seller that wanted less for their house than what you said, than what you thought it was worth? Almost never happens, does it? I mean, maybe once or twice in my career, but not often. So you have to go into this thinking and knowing that their perception is that they want this, but the prices are probably here. So our job is to bridge this gap. Our job is to change the way that they're looking at the information. So we're not going to tell them they're wrong, stupid, and ignorant. We're going to help them interpret the information that they already have. So you want to lead with questions, not the data. So questions, how about starting off with this? What have you seen online about the values in your neighborhood? What's your biggest concern about the market right now? Let them tell you what they think, and then you can guide them based on that conversation. So you're not correcting them, you're contextualizing it for them. Now, if you want to take those same questions and do it by personality style, if as a driver, I might ask, what's your timeline and what matters most to you in this process? Right to the point, right? It's a driver. Expressive, I might open up by saying, tell me about your home. What do you love most about it? Amiable. How are you feeling about the whole process? What concerns do you have? And with the analytical, what research have you done so far? I'd love to see what you're working from. Now, do you guys see how that changes the whole conversation? So we've moved from I'm coming in and I'm going to throw a CMA down in front of you and tell you here's what the houses are selling for and here's what your competition is, and therefore it's worth this. What we're doing is we're opening up a dialogue so that the client can begin to see things from a different perspective. Because remember, they already have a price in mind and they think they know. And we need to give them time in this interpretation portion to start to think about what this data really means. Now, to do this well, you have to walk into this with, and I wrote down genuinely curious, not strategically curious. So, in other words, you've got to be genuine. If we just sum that up, uh, it, it means that you don't actually presume or know what the seller's thoughts are or what their motive, what their true motivation is. That you're really wanting to dig deeper and ask enough questions so you can get to the heart of who they are, why they think that way, what they're trying to accomplish. And if you know all of those things, then again, the connection comes, is just you get connected straight away and they begin to listen to you. See, genuine curiosity is about conversation and about wonder and really listening. Strategic curiosity is a script, and
Mhm.
the sellers know the difference. They know when someone's being performative. All right, so that's the interpret portion. So let me go back for a second to the interpret side. Sellers are like dogs. They can smell it on you guys.
Mhm.
They're summing you up.
Yeah.
And they can see that you're robotic or that you're too stiff or you're not present in the moment. If you're too scripted and you sound salesy, it turns them off every single time. They can sense it. So the first portion is to really understand what's happening with this client. Next, the connection. Sellers choose agents that they trust.
Mhm.
They don't choose the agent that has the best credentials. They don't choose the agent that drives the fanciest car, has the best materials. They choose an agent that they trust, and that trust is built through that connection. And having confidence is not a PowerPoint or a glossy paper. It's how you carry yourself when you walk in. It's how you carry yourself when the seller pushes back. I mean, when do you get offended or defensive when the seller wants to talk about the price or doesn't agree with you? Uh, the one question that builds more trust than any other question is ask this question. Tell me, what does a successful sale look like to you? And then listen. Actually listen. The agent who asks the best questions and listens the hardest is the one that's going to get the listing. Now, if we look at this by personality style, you with a driver, you're going to connect with them through your confidence. You're going to and your speed, confidence and competence. Let's write that down. You want to get through it fast. You don't want to waste their time. With the expressive, you're going to connect with them through enthusiasm, matching their energy, celebrating their home, complimenting them, smiling, being pleasant. And the amiable, you're going to connect with them through patience. I mentioned this earlier. You want to make them feel safe, not rushed. They need to feel like a person, not a transaction. And the analytical, you're going to connect through your preparation. Your data and your knowledge of the data is how you build rapport with an analytical seller. Now, please remember, they are not hiring you for your track record. They are hiring their belief in you. Please write that down. I think that's such a fantastic quote. They're not hiring your track record. They're hiring their belief in you. And that comes from the connection. So real confidence from our side comes from knowing who you are and what you bring to the table. Uh, Not your volume, not your awards. It's your ability to guide this family or this person in this situation. And you have to believe it before they will. And I remember when I was a young agent and I struggled with this portion of it. Like, why would they list with me? Why would they list with me? There's so many other better agents at that time. And I had to do some soul searching, and I would recommend you guys do some soul searching too. Who are you as a real estate agent? What do you stand for? Now, I'll speak to mine, and you guys can uh, figure out what this means to you. But for me, kind of my foundation is that I was going to give, I know, and I believe this 100% as a real estate professional, no one, nobody gives better service than we do. No one. We are prompt in how we answer their calls. We call them not just once every week. I generally will talk to my clients numerous times every week, or my partner will talk to them numerous times every week. So the communication level and the servicing is super high. They know what we're doing, and they know that we haven't forgotten them. So that was like the very first thing that I knew that would set me apart. That became who I am as a real estate agent. The second thing was I decided I was always going to tell the truth. Now, that's not to say that all real estate agents lie, but I'm of the belief that a lot of agents don't tell the truth. They don't tell them that, God, that I know you love your cat, but there is a strong pet odor that we need to address. And I've got some solutions that is really going to help us in the marketing of your home. See, most agents won't tell them that. Or how about this one? Most agents won't say, you know what? Based on your motivation right now in your particular situation, I'm not sure that this is the right time for you to be selling. Have you ever told a seller that? You should be looking for opportunities to tell people that they don't need to sell, because that's what professionals do. That is in my foundations that always tell the truth, even when it hurts. See, we get paid to have difficult conversations. That's what they're hiring us for, because you can't get results in this business without having some tough conversations. So I always tell the truth. But who are you as an agent? So you have to believe it. And when you do, then they will believe it. Now, once the trust is established and you've connected and you've asked the questions and then you've connected, it's easy for you to walk them through what it's going to take to get their home sold and to get them top dollar. So this is where you can introduce your marketing and your pricing strategy, what your processes are. But it lands completely differently once you've connected with them. Especially, and I would say this, and I wholeheartedly believe this, especially when it comes to pricing. If you've interpreted that what their needs are and you've made this connection, they will listen to you on pricing. And let's not forget, then if you need a price reduction, they're going to listen to you. Or when the offer comes in, they're going to listen to you because they feel heard. So the execution of this is easier once you've followed the first two steps. So in the end, they're not evaluating you. They start to buy into you and buy into your belief in yourself. So to reinforce this and execute it even higher, let me give you a couple of tips. Instead of saying things like, here's what I do, here's what we do for our clients to get the property sold. That's so impersonal, guys. Here's our process. How about saying something like this? Here's exactly what we're going to do to get your property sold. Here's exactly what we're going to do to market your property. Make it specific, make it about them. Now, if you get a little bit deeper into this, do it by personality style. With the driver, give them the bottom line first. They want to know really what they're going to net. You'll hear that from drivers. What's the net bottom line? They probably don't want the details. You know, if you've done a great job with the driver, it'll be the shortest appointment you've ever had. Get to the bottom line first, give them the details if they want them. With the expressives, tell them this, use stories, show them all the exciting things you're going to do to help market their home, not just price it, because they're not numbers people, they're not fact people, they're feeling people. So they are more likely to listen to your pricing suggestions if you're showing them the other side. Amiables, you got to walk them through every step of the process. And so they don't get surprised. And if they believe that you feel, if you really feel and care about them, they will listen to you on the price and it's easy to execute. Analyticals, the work will speak for itself. If you've got the data and you've learned how to ask questions with the analytical so that they can come to that same conclusion, the execution is easy. See, by the time you get to the execution part, if you've done the right job in the interpretation and the connection, you've read their personality style, you've spoken to them in language that they understand, you don't have to close. You're just confirming that we're moving forward. You know, the seller already decided, so that you don't have to use a fancy closing line. It will happen automatically because it literally by following this process and spending more time in the connection, interpreting and connecting, it leads you to the finish line, which is why you were there in the first place. All right, now there's three things I want you guys to write down. I want you to try on your next appointment. I mean, like today, not in the future, next appointment, tonight, tomorrow, you use them immediately. First thing is that your opening question. Let's change your opening question. Remember what I said? Instead of, let me show you what I prepared. You know, before we get into the numbers, I'd love to understand what matters to you most about this sale and actually mean it. And then go back and look at the personality styles and restructure that question so it's reaching the person that you're talking to. And just by changing that opening, the room is going to open up. Have you guys ever noticed that there's a little bit of tension sometimes or distance when you walk into a listing appointment? Anybody other than me ever have that feeling? I mean, you can feel them judging you, right? Because they're afraid they're going to be sold. No one wants to be sold. So walk in and ask a question like this, and you know what? All that tension just starts to come down. And then it sets the stage for you to go deeper and move through this process. So that's the first change. Let's change our opening question. Number two, please write this down. Stop defending your price. Start exploring theirs. Remember, I said earlier that 99.9% of sellers want more for their home than what we think it's worth. Right? I mean, that's the reality. So instead of getting into this debate like what we've been taught, when you hear their price, just simply smile and say, well, help. All right, so it's fantastic. So help me understand how you arrived at that number. I want to make sure that we're working from the same information. See, what that does is that puts you on the same side. Remember, we asked the opening question and all that tension came down. And now, when we get into the pricing, we're kind of moving alongside of them. So we're a guide in this conversation. We're not an opponent. We're not fighting with them because that's always fun. to fight with our sellers. But that's what we've been doing for years, setting up a dynamic that is so confrontational that it's uncomfortable for everyone. All right, third change. End with certainty instead of a fancy close. And I love this. Just try this. Based on everything we talked about today, here's exactly what I'm going to do to get your home sold and why I believe it's going to get you top dollar. Say it with certainty. No stress. No, oh my God, they're going to say no to me. Just assume with certainty that you've done such a great job and that we've checked, all the boxes are checked. They feel heard. They feel like you've listened to them. They've made that connection. We've helped change their perception of what this process is or what the pricing is. And when we've done all of those things, then we can just, if they want to sell, all we need to do is just say, well, here's exactly what we're going to do to get you top dollar. And here's what the next step is. And then they will sign. But you got to say it like you mean it, because remember, if you don't believe it, they won't either. Your certainty, your confidence, that's the product here. Now, I want to leave you guys with something, something a little uncomfortable. So, somewhere out there, this might even be happening to you right now. There's a seller sitting in a living room, and they've called two or three agents. Let's say they called three agents. And they've sat through three presentations and they're about to make a decision. That's a common thing, right? It's happening somewhere in North America right now. This scenario has happened. Now, one of those agents brought a beautiful CMA, glossy paper, beautiful. And by the way, I think you should, I love that stuff. And I think that we should all have materials that are beautiful and are professional. So I'm not knocking that, but I want you guys to listen to this whole scenario. One of the agents, that's who they are. That's what they brought. That's their their unique selling proposition. One of them had a great track record. One of them was the top agent in the area. One of them had the fanciest marketing strategy that you've ever seen. Three agents, three different approaches. But none of that is what's going to determine who got the listing. What's going to determine it is which agent makes the seller feel or think that they were finally talking to someone who understood them. The agent that showed up hungry or arrogant or unprepared or stiff or didn't ask any questions, they're not going to get the listing. The agent that listened more and connected more is the one that's going to get the listing, because the seller has chosen that agent based on how that agent made them think or feel. They're going to list with the agent that they want to be in business with over the next 1, 2, 3, 4 months. Here's the hard truth. The sellers are paying a lot of money. Would you guys agree that, I know we all are underpaid in general for everything that we do, but that seller is paying a lot of money and they deserve the very best agent in the room. And the best agent in the room isn't always the one who gets hired. The best agent in the room sometimes is the one that makes that connection. So why don't you be both? Why don't you be the best agent and the one that connects? the agent that has the best track record and the best marketing and the best packet, and you're connecting. See, sellers, they don't make mistakes in choosing the agents. They're choosing what they see in front of them every time. They choose exactly what they see in front of them every time. So if they didn't choose you, it's because of you, not them. They didn't choose you, not because an agent did it for a lower commission. They didn't, they don't make decisions based on that. They may validate their decision based on that, but they choose exactly what they see in front of them every time. Every listing appointment that I've ever been on, which have been thousands, every listing appointment that I've ever, coached an agent on, um, came down to one thing, whether it was won or lost. What are they seeing when they look? What do they see when they look at you? When you walk in, how are they summarizing you, and how are you making them think or feel? So if you're not sure of that answer, then we should probably talk about that. So in closing, I've got, we always want to be here for all of you guys. I mean, I think we've got, gosh, I don't know, we've got 30 people or so on the call right now. And we love the bonus calls, and we love providing them for you. But if you need help, if your business isn't where you want it to be, I've got a couple of spots available right now. And I don't take a lot of clients. I mean, I was with a former company where I had like 80 clients. I don't do that anymore because I give 24/7 access to my clients, and I want to deliver to the clients so that when they need me, I'm here. So if you're looking for something different, if you're looking for a coach to work with you and help you work on these skills, give me a call. I'd love to add a couple of people to my schedule here in the next 30 days. So I think my number's on the screen. Reach out. My number's there. My email address is there as well. And we'd love to talk to you guys about it. So let's see, how are we doing on time? Well, we're just about out of time. Gosh, that we went through that fast, didn't we? All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation today. I really enjoyed I enjoyed bringing it to you. If As I said, if you have any questions, give me a shout. You want to talk about this, call me. Uh, otherwise, make it a great spring. And one last thought, guys, we're in selling season. Don't forget, this is our time. We got to be out there, and we've got to make the best impression that we possibly can. So with that, I'm going to say bye now. You guys are awesome. Call
Thank
me.
you.
Have a great day. See you soon. Bye, Bianca.
Thanks,
Bye.